Most of our lives are going to be spent doing the routine things of God, the usual serving, loving, caring for people, the maturing in our worship and our walk with Him. But because God makes individuals, there's going to be something important that you especially are supposed to do. And believers talk about this idea of having a calling in life. And we like the specialness of that. Finding your calling is definitely part of living a life worth living. But a calling often doesn't work the way you'd think it would. The Apostle Paul had this big supernatural calling from God to be a missionary to foreigners. He wasn't even a believer when the calling came. And he had spent his whole life before that preparing to be a teacher among his own people. That's what he was really best suited for. And then after his calling came, he had to wait for almost half his remaining lifetime to see it begin to materialize. And then when he started moving on it, he was actually rejected and opposed by other church leaders. And then toward the end of his life, when he had achieved his calling quite well, his supporters mostly abandoned him, and certain groups of believers ran around trying to ruin most of what he'd accomplished. He was probably the most historically significant missionary ever, but you could look at his life at any given moment and easily argue that his calling was not working out. To live a life worth living, you need to find your calling, and then you need to embrace it, no matter what. All that said, how do you find your calling in life? You can't judge by your suitability or by your passions, because your gifts don't really determine what you do in life. They only determine how you go about doing it. A calling has something to do with the need around you. It has something to do with faith, but mostly it has to do with hearing from God. If there's such a thing as a calling, then there has to be a caller. If God speaks, we should be listening. And when God speaks, cherish it and commit. You'll learn along the way, and you have to update your vision as you go, but you gotta keep going. You should pursue results, but pursue no matter the results. Because one, you might be a bad judge of them, and two, obedience trumps results. Calling is commitment. So let's say that today you want to find your calling, or you want to move in the direction in which you especially are called. What should you do?